getting things taken care of. Looks like we are going back in here. Zillion, the first ban. Looks like they're taking their time with these, so we might have a different draft on our hands.
Yeah, KT did ban Italy, Vladimir, and Rise before that game was remade. But
Zillion was the first ban by ESC, but the fact that the bans aren't just being rapidly fired out just tells us that we're looking at a different one here. Okay.
Just kidding.
Really just going to run down the clock on that one.
Varus, so Zillion, Varus, and Trundle were the bans. The first iteration of this game from ESC ever. And what are we going to see? The Vladimir yet again? Are they worried about the Ashe or the Bard this time? Have they learned their lesson about perhaps giving those picks over to the likes of ESC? Especially ESC didn't pick the Ashe first. It's very interesting.
Just ban the Fizz and then we don't have to worry about it. Okay.
Well, the coach was making an indication with his hands that they may not be banning anything. He was making an X with his fingers. It has happened before that teams have chosen not to ban.
Interesting decision. Well, it seems to have thrown off ESC. Oh,
Yep,
okay.
we're out.
Looks like we had an issue.
Oh boy, it's just Bug City today. I'm not sure. Sometimes, usually when that happens, all the players, you have to make a new lobby.
Yeah.
And all the players do have to leave, but we are just going to wait and see what happens.
Good old client. But,
just game bugs, client bugs, everything is bugged today.
Yep. So many hidden features.
Well, these are not hidden features. There's no feature here.
They are blatantly.
The feature is, I guess, the remake, an entire extra game of League of Legends here.
Yeah.
So we were well into our last one. Both teams were close. I do think that that's at least one of the better situations where you can have a bug issue because of the fact that it wasn't like one team was 15,000 gold up with a Baron pushing into the base and then there's a remake. It was still definitely winnable by both teams.
Yeah. Oh, well, and again, not as many implications as far as champion pool's concerned here compared to that Gragas one. Whose game was that even? I can't remember. Was that Fnatic?
Fnatic and EDG.
EDG, okay.
I believe.
Okay, yeah, that was a 40-minute pause. That was one hell of a break that they had there. I don't envy the desk for having to fill that entire time, but they did a good job of it. But it looks like we are just getting everybody back into the lobby now and should kick off this pick ban again. Give it another shot and see how it goes.
I'm not sure what we're waiting on now. All the players are back in, so.
Yeah. Just looking for the okay to start things up. Should be coming soon. There we go. Looks like it's going to be kicking off now. Maybe.
Oh, we are in. Zillion
we
has
see
been
it.
banned
Yeah, we
again.
can see it, but we're taking a look at the coaches as they.
And now us
now
again.
us.
We're just waiting. It looks like KT may be having some problem banning. Nope, they are going to ban
okay,
Italy.
so Zillion
we're
and
slowly getting through this, guys. Bear with us.
We'll just keep the camera on us for the entire game as
All right,
well.
we'll do it.
Yep. We'll just we'll really give it like a radio broadcast so everyone can just imagine what's happening.
That's actually how shoutcasting started.
Well, yeah.
See, it was. In fact, when I first started casting esports, streaming didn't exist. And so
you used to have to download VODs. And,
you had to download. No, you had to download replay files.
Well, that's what. Oh, yeah.
So the reason why while we go through this a little bit of history. So the reason why shoutcasters are called shoutcasters in the first place is that there was a Winamp plugin called Shoutcaster that was a radio broadcast. Because when I first started casting Warcraft 3 in like 2004. There was no way at that time to watch the games live. So if you wanted to catch a live game, there were only 8 spectators. So one of them would be the caster, and then you could listen to it live like a radio production. And that actually informed, because if you listen to sportscasting right now on TV, where you have a lot of visuals, it doesn't sound like the way we do it. We sound like radio broadcasters, and the reason why is because all of the old school shoutcasters People who were working back then, like me and D-Man and Joe Miller, learned how to cast for radio, basically. And then everybody else sort of imitated that style ever since then, which is why you hear the play-by-play like going nuts, which is and very descriptive very quickly, which is not typically what you see when you watch a sports match on TV.
Yeah. Thank you for the insight. God, Winamp.
That's right, Winamp.
Those
Shoutcaster
days.
plug-in.
It's like, oh, you want to listen to that Warcraft 3 game? Go download the replay.
You know what's interesting is that as we go through this identical draft so far, by the way, looks like we may just have the same draft here.
Someday it's just messing around.
No, what he's doing is he's spelling KT with champions. Or he was. He stopped doing that now, but KT does do that, where they do KET in terms of the first syllable of every champion.
Okay, well, looks like we might actually have, yeah, it's going to be a, oh, never mind. Last second flip, so it will be Victor.
They're going to be taking Victor earlier in the draft this time instead of going after the Aurelia.
Yeah,
Like they did in the first part of this game. Ash still taken by ESC though.
See how consistent they want to keep things. Ash Bard might still just end up being the bottom lane. Nazir making it through yet again. Temp looking like he wants to continue playing that.
Yeah, this time KT deciding that they would rather play Victor with Fly rather than take the Azir away, so they still want that matchup, it would appear.
Now, well, they might pass on it, but obviously Victor already locked in, so we're not going to see Azir taken away. So they can just wait to hold off on that mid pick a little bit later in the draft. So this is smart by ESC. Looks like we might just have the Rek'Sai and Bard returning. And it will be as they get locked in.
All right, so.
Well, they flashed this Jhin. It looked like it was going to get locked in. They flipped to Victor at the last second. We could see Arrow switch things up and try to go for this. Play a much more long-range AD carry. Open up those fights with the curtain call.
Yeah, I think what they're considering now is that because there really wasn't any threat besides the Fizz onto the Sivir in the last game, maybe you just punish them and take a low mobility but high damage AD carry like the Jhin. And remember, Jhin has been played already 3 times by Arrow. He's most played alongside Caitlyn this season.
There's one we actually haven't seen in a while, is Caitlyn. She hasn't pulled out.
Yeah, I was actually watching some EU games recently, and they even first picked Caitlyn over there, which I thought was a bit strange. Of course, you could never count out the Draven for Arrow. Oh, no, not going to go for it.
I would love to see that. That would be one hell of a day. We get Fabi in the NALCS and then Draven over here.
We did see Draven picked up recently. Freeze played it a couple of games in Europe.
Yeah. Freeze loves that Draven.
So does Arrow.
Yeah, but the last time that they played it didn't go so hot.
Well, yeah, they try it about once or twice a season, though. You never know when it's going to come out.
It will be Ezreal and Braum, so completely changing up that bottom lane for KT.
Yeah, it looks like they're more interested in stopping some of the possible poke damage coming in and having the escapability onto the AD carry. So pretty big divergence in the draft from KT Rolster compared to the first version of this game. And looks like we may see a Twisted Fate into Trundle this time. Remember, Sivir was banned instead of Trundle. That was the adaptation that ESC made to their ban phase.
Very true. All right, well, Trundle does get locked in. Twisted Fate there. Looking for a top laner for someday. Aurelia's available, but Aurelia into Trundle doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun.
Could play the Rumble, which is what we've seen the Rocks Tigers do into Trundle now, and that has
Smep just loves that.
Proven quite effective. Fiora being flashed right here, although I'm still not sold on that Fiora in any of these matchups. I mean, we saw it yesterday again from SK Telecom, and it didn't look great.
Yeah, and that was Duke's Fiora too. Very renowned for that champion previously, and now...
Somebody's a great Fiora player also, and he's going to lock it in, but
all right.
I agree with what Papa was saying yesterday about Fiora. It's like, it just doesn't seem to be a great pick right now. It doesn't have that same power in the late game in a split push that we used to see. Is it fine against the Trundle? Yes, because you're not going to get your stats stolen. But KT this time really setting up for another 4-1 split composition. Same thing with ESC, but tons of pick potential on the side of ESC ever. We look at the Ash Bard Twisted Fate combination, and it's a good thing that KT decided to go for that Ezreal Braum, because they're really going to need that movement ability to get out of some of these ganks, one would assume.
Yep.
That is quite deadly if ESC really commits to the bottom side of the map. Even the top side, the Fiora, going to have a hard time getting out with the pillar and the gold card.
Yep. Early on, it's going to be difficult to duel with that Trundle. That Chomp will just rip off your HP bar. So we'll see how Someday handles this matchup. It's a very confident pickup for him to go back to this, especially with Fiora's unsuccess that we've seen, or lack of success, I guess I should say, that we've seen lately from her.
I mean, Samsung's won, but it hasn't been because of Fiora.
But it wasn't Uwe.
I can't point a finger to a single game where a team has played Fiora this season and I've said, Fiora is a great pick here, is doing a lot for this team. It has, to me, looked very weak.
Well, Someday's going to try to prove you wrong and make you say that here today, Monty. Let's go ahead and get right back into Game 1, ESC versus KT, Take 2. All right, here we go onto the Rift. It's going to be Infernal Drake to kick things off. So there we go. We got a bug, but we also got an Infernal Drake to start instead of that pesky Cloud Drake.
Yeah, should be good here for ESC. That's going to need less time to scale. Obviously, after they hit level 6, the Ash Bard Twisted Fate combination can be quite powerful for controlling the Drake. Meanwhile, Ezreal and Fiora are going to need a little bit of time to become relevant. Even Trundle at least provides that pillar in some of these early skirmishes, as opposed to pretty much nothing from Fiora. No real crowd control or threat.
Yep. One of the things hopefully we can clarify after the game is whether or not Fizz is disabled for the rest of the day, or if he's just passed up on by ESC.
Yep.
So we'll figure that one out in a little bit of time. For the time being, though, we don't have to worry about him. Of course, double TP threat going to be there from ESC. Tempt, of course, also having the Destiny. And Fly's just going to be running with the Ghost. So we'll see if he can keep up with Tempt, because he's going to have a pretty decent wave clear once he can get a couple items in. That Q will start clearing out those back line.
Yeah, no magical journey shenanigans here at level 1 this time. They're both dual lanes will be swapping up into the top side and taking the small caps. Not going to be seeing anything quite as fun as we did earlier on.
I'm sure Score is very thankful for that.
Yes, bad times were had by him. He still did okay. It did force Achani to come up, but it was also a lane swap scenario. Not going to happen right now, and not going to hit that caster mini with a Mystic Shot either.
Yep.
Will Arrow.
Nope. It begins. This is going to be your life for a while someday.
Yeah, it is a bit of a mystery to me. Yes, like, it's very interesting that we have both of these top laners that were affected very much by the QSS changes in a positive way.
Yeah. Oh boy, well here comes Crazy trying to go aggressive. Gets the flash out of Someday.
It's level 2 first, had the pillar there at level 2, so Someday not playing respectfully enough, not counting the minions, and gets himself in a bad position where he has to use that flash. So pretty poor laning play there from Someday early.
Well, now we get the Scuttle Scuffle coming on in the mid lane. Coon's not going to land. Score does come down on the other side of Bless, so he won't go into Tempt and will make it out. That will open up Bless to go ahead and take down that Scuttle Crab, get that early vision, and hit the gold pinata.
Right. Just get that advantage onto Someday, who's going to have to use his TP here extremely early.
Yeah.
As this wave gets pushed in, he doesn't really have a choice about what he's going to do. Goes back, picks up a longsword, and then TPs. Crazy's going to have quite a bit more gold to work with if he decides to back.
Yeah. What do you think? Should you go for the longsword there or go for the Ruby Crystal? Because obviously you're going to be building the Phage to go for the Black Cleaver.
Oh, God. That's a hard call. I guess if you're assuming you're going to get pushed into the turret, maybe you just go ahead and take the longsword for more reliable last hitting.
It's true. Huh. I don't know. He will be able to catch a good amount of that wave, so he's not going to be too far down in CS. We can see Crazy's coming back as well with a longsword in the inventory. But he will have a pink that he can throw in that tri-brush and cover his flank.
Yeah, we'll see if he goes for the tri-brush or just for the river to prevent Someday from really ever walking up safely. Not knowing, yeah, he's going to go with the river. So very aggressive positioning of that ward, and that tells us right now that Crazy really just wants to keep that minion wave pushed pretty far up right now and have Someday constantly.
Oh, Tempt gets caught up by the cocoon. That's going to be the gravity field. He's got nowhere to go. First blood over to KT. Nice gank in the mid lane.
Tempt too far forward and didn't have any vision right there. Only the scuttle crab in the bottom side of the river. So easy gank there for Score, wrapping around the side. And then, of course, that chain CC. If you do not have cleanse and the cocoon hits you, the gravity field will get the secondary stun. Yep. And Fly just walked up, didn't even have to use a summoner spell to close the gap on that one. So just poor laning there by Tempt.
Yep. He might just try it again. Doesn't know that Bless is in underneath the tower. Might have seen that. He knows
now, yeah, he did. And now
now he's spotted. Okay, so he's not going to be able to get that gank, but God, that would have been tilt-worthy if he had just gotten ganked, 10 seconds later, take it down again. But nicely played. We can see that's going to be just the Ionian boots coming in for Tempt, looking for the CDR early on. So not going to be having any power for quite some time in this Twisted Fate. See where he wants to go. He does have the TP, so he could go for like an early Lich Bane, try to be a split pusher, but I think at this point, you probably just want to get as much power as you can in your lane.
Well, the 1-3-1 will be quite powerful late for ESC if they can actually get to that point, because obviously Trundle and Twisted Fate are some of the best split pushers in this game, and there's not an answer on the other side, just the Fiora or the likes of KT, and their wave clear isn't great either. Well, it is with the Victor, but not so much with the Ezreal, so they are really going to be dependent on playing around the Victor or pressure, especially for the first while in this game until the Iceborne Gauntlet comes down. But comparing that to the Ashe, who has volley, will be building the Runan's Hurricane, they're going to be pretty happy with the 1-3-1 here.
Greedy build coming out from Arrow as well. Went for the tier straight into Call.
Wow, that is really greedy.
Yeah, very stack dependent. But he's been relatively safe for the time being. Can just hide behind Hachani without a break though. Hasn't been punished yet, but with Loken getting ready to hit 6, could be a big opportunity for ESC's bot lane to open up.
Yeah, but with Unbreakable and the Arcane Shift, it's really unlikely that an arrow is ever going to actually land. And even if it does hit Hachani, he could just use the stand behind me to pop back to arrow later on. So there's a lot of movement abilities possible for the KT Arrows dual lane here, and I don't think they're going to be too broken up about any kind of early aggression that ESC puts down, especially because there's a Rek'Sai, which is mostly follow-up. So as long as you don't get hit by the initial arrow or the Bard ultimate, then you should be okay.
Yeah. Well, Fly just going to throw down that Chaos Storm. Shove Tempt out of the lane, trying to deny him as much as he can, but comes the gate down to the bottom side onto Crazy, throws out the ultimate onto Someday. He does take him down a little bit, but Grand Challenge will be completed. Flash forward, and Someday finds a kill. Nicely played. Good roam for Hachani to help his top laner pick up a very much needed reprieve in that bottom side of the map.
Yeah, Tempt also thought maybe he could make the play right there, but unfortunately he was pushed up. Now, there was the Chaos Storm down as Score goes ahead and takes the red buff right there. Chaos Storm was down, so the gate channel could not be interrupted, so it looked like he may have been able to do something, but I think he wisely canceled it as soon as he saw that there was only one tick left on the Grand Challenge, and instead ESC says, okay, well, if Hachani's in the bottom side, we're just going to punish your top lane here, which in this case has the AD carry in it, push down this turret, get a bunch of damage onto it, and then deny some of the farm here from this Ezreal, who is already going to be delayed just due to, like you said, the stacking nature of his build.
Yep. Well, they do get a good amount of damage in on the turret, but unfortunately not able to finish it off. You can see Someday coming back off of the spy will run back to lane instead of TPing, so he's going to lose a couple of those minions at the turret, but just going straight for the Ravenous Hydra rather than early Black Cleaver. So once that AoE wave clear. Meanwhile, Crazy, Tiamat in the inventory with the Ruby Crystal, so can only assume that it's going to be a Titanic.
Yeah, interesting divergence in builds. Usually we see the Trundles go for the Titanic, only occasionally the Hydra, but that's I've seen it both ways. I do think that the Titanic is generally better on Trundle because you can just go ahead and build some tankiness after that, and you're still going to have the wave clear and be able to do enough damage.
Yeah.
Also does make you more relevant in team fights if you are forced into those situations.
Well, so far, Arrow not able to pick up too much else. See if he wants to go for the Iceborne Gauntlet next, or if he wants to go ahead and complete the Mana Mune, which has been a pretty popular start here for the Ezreal so far. Still just trying to stack up that call as best as he possibly can. Still a ways off before he gets that big burst in gold. Infernal Drake still standing as we inch our way towards 10 minutes, so neither team been in much of a position. This is the 2v2 to go for that objective.
I'm honestly surprised that ESC isn't... Oh, wow. Okay, well, Score is going to bounce right to Score right there. Score does actually steal it away with a smite. I'm actually surprised that ESC hasn't been trying to swap lanes and put the Ashe and the Bard back in that bottom side, because you combine that with the Twisted Fate and the fact that you have a BF sword into tier Cull, and you should be able to push forward and take that Infernal Drake for free.
Oh, wow. Temp taking a ton of damage to Chaos Storm, though. Gets out of range, so he can't stick to him for much longer. But he is going to have to go back. We'll see if he wants to burn TP. Rejoin the lane as Wave's getting ready to crash. Does have Destiny available, so wouldn't be surprised if he goes ahead and close that Summoner spell, and he's going to. Yeah. But he is starting to suffer. 20 CS down here in just 11 minutes.
He's got to go back. Like you said, use that TP right now. You can't allow this chunking of his turret to continue, because if he loses that as Twisted Fate, you have a lot fewer options as to where you're going to actually go on the map, how you're going to make these ganks, because you're going to be pushed into your tier 2 and your range on your Destiny and Gate not so much. Are going to try and make a play onto the top side now. 4 people up there.
Yep, turret's still standing, but it is pretty
Somebody
low.
has TP, Crazy does not.
Oh boy. This could be pretty bad here for Hachani. He's going to come over and try to ward. Finds Bless, gets popped up in the air. It's going to be the Cosmic Binding, but it doesn't connect him to the wall. He flashes away. Gold card comes through from Temp. Arrow to follow up. They turn off the turret with the Bard ultimate. Hachani's going to go down. Arrow trying to jump back in here. Logan's going to get aggro. Hold it for a while. He gets locked up. Temp able to finish off with another gold card in the queue. Score does go ahead and pick up the Infernal Drake, but 2 members fall KT. They're going to lose that turret at the top side.
Yeah, and because Score was already soloing out the Infernal Drake, KT just made a decision that, hey, Arrow, Hachani, you're on your own. We're not going to blow TP for this. And they knew that they were going to get the mid tower low, so they could trade turret for turret and then Infernal Drake for 2 kills, which is worth it if you're KT for sure. Nice ultimate there from Bard, just making Arrow very vulnerable. Logan does a good job of staying on the periphery of the turret aggro. And Tempt will pick the rest of it up. But at the end of the day, when you trade turret for turret, you'll trade those 2 kills over for that Infernal Drake, especially if you're KT and you already got 2 kills already. Okay, well, we'll just even up the gold total right there, except at the end of the day, we have the Infernal Drake and you don't.
Yep.
So good shot calling there from KT. Sometimes you just have to let a couple members of your team die, save your teleport, and then commit to that actual objective. And I think they end up in the much better situation.
Yeah, that 8% increase is going to be doing wonders for them, especially for Someday, who's been struggling against Crazy. Still down by about 15 CS, so that'll help him with his dual potential as he does finish the Ravenous Hydra.
Yeah, did get the kill though. So.
Oh, well, it looks like Crazy actually might be going for the Ravenous himself, has the Vamp Scepter now in the inventory. So Ruby Crystal just going to be held off for a different item. We'll see where he wants to go with that. Looks like he might have just had a change of heart, you know, on that back, so it's going to be changing up the build path a little bit. We'll see where he wants to go, because typically what we've been seeing is that Hydra item, whether it's Ravenous or Titanic, then into the Iceborne Gauntlet. Tempo going to get snatched up by that Cocoon, draws the gold card, but here comes the Chaos Storm. That's enough to keep him out of range, and Fly uses the Ghost. It's not going to find anything for it, but they do get the flash away from the Twisted Fate.
I really like how aggressively Fly has been playing this lane this game. Just having no hesitation in dropping the Chaos Storm at every opportunity that he has, and he knows that Tempt can't use his ult if he's too low to actually TP and do something with it on the map. So why not just use that Chaos Storm to control the Twisted Fate?
Yeah.
It's a good call. Now they're going to drop down here and try and take this turret, which is already at 50% health, courtesy of Someday.
Yep. They're spotted out by that pink ward, though. So Someday...
That's right, you get free 25% HP on the turret because of that. And what did they lose? Absolutely nothing.
Well, I wasn't sure if Plus was going to come down here, just went straight for the plugs. So Someday will remain safe for the time being. But thought he might be getting collapsed. But it's good for now. Blue buff goes over to Fly.
Too dangerous, though, with Victor and Elise still around there. You didn't have any wards. They could well have been in the tri-brush for all you know.
True.
So instead they double back and take the blue buff, but that feint just onto the bottom side gives Someday a little bit of extra time with the turret. It does work.
Yep. Oh, he's going to go and throw it in the grand challenge. It's just these two alone on the bottom side, but here comes Skork. Just comes over the wall with a repel, and they finish him off. Someday, I think he would have got that one by himself, but they get the assist just for good measure, and that Fiora is starting to take off.
Gets the flash out of Trundle, too, and for the first time, Achilles, we're actually seeing a Fiora do work. In this matchup right now, did have an item advantage, had the completed Ravenous Hydra right there, but Someday is actually making this matchup look like it's good for Fiora, and that Fiora can win the split push in the 4-1 with this particular matchup, which is not something that we've seen since a lot of the changes to items like QSS, changes to Fiora came through. So also changes to the itemization where you can't freely swap between the Titanic and Ravenous Hydra, which used to be a big part of how you played Fiora.
Yeah. Well, you can see Crazy still going to be delaying his item builds. Now going for the Glacial Shroud. So not going to be completing the Hydra quite just yet. Wants to get a bit of armor in the inventory to go along with that little bit of HP that he has for himself. But really going to be delaying any sort of spike that he's going to get. Now we can see KT just go straight for that Rift Herald. ESC don't want to give this one up without a fight. Bless comes in with a Void Rush. Chani stick up in the front lines. TP's coming in now from Tempt and Crazy. He gets chunked out. Fly not able to find the kill. It's actually going to be stolen away by Bless as he smites it away. They take him down though. Somebody finds the kill. Now Tempted Key going to have to be on the run. Arrow jumping forward, finds him with the Mystic Shot. But that Q out from the Twisted Fate does good amount of damage to the Ezreal and the Braum, so they have to back off. So overall, ESC, they invest, they get a steal away, but they lose the jungler.
Yeah, and they're probably going to lose a little bit more here, Achilles.
Well, Destiny comes in from Tempt onto the backside. He's not really in range. Crazy's trying to pinch down, but he can't find him, so it might just be the Twisted Fate ultimate used, but they will hold on to that tier 1 tower on the top side for the time being.
Yeah, they will, but they had to use 2 TPs and the
Destiny.
Twisted Fate ultimate in order to make that work, and they didn't actually pick up anything on the backside of that fight. It was just a kill for the Rift Herald. It's like Rift Herald buff went over to Bless, which is sort of useless. They're lucky to go to Someday because, I mean, he's already a monster, apparently.
I mean, he doesn't need it. He's just dashing straight on to Crazy and takes him down with relative ease. Barely loses any HP for that one. Caulfield's Warhammer is also in the inventory, so what little armor Crazy has is going to be pretty much ignored.
And Someday knew he had flash advantage in that engagement, so as soon as Crazy started walking forward, he had there's no compunction not to just go in to take the solo kill because it was so easy considering how far back he was from the turret, and now Crazy's going to lose the turret too. So big mistake, overextension there from the likes of Crazy, who really doesn't look comfortable in this matchup.
Yeah. Well, what a surprise. Somebody plays Fiora and they impress us, and it happens to be Someday.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it looks like he's going to abandon the turret for now. Going to back off to the base and maybe blow that TP if it's necessary to join his team, because it's another Infernal Drake that spawned. I already like this match better than the first one.
Well, KT certainly has a bigger advantage in this game than they did in the first one, especially as we head into the late game and we look at how strong, how fed this Fiora is, and now she has 2 Infernal Drakes.
Oh, well, Hachani going straight over the wall. Someday joining it as well. The Chaos Storm just ticking away. Bless tries to tunnel out, but he can't do it. Bard ultimate gets used, only finds the Braum. He'll take a little bit of damage on the back end from that Q off the Twisted Fate, but it's going to be another Infernal Drake. So now 16% increased AD and AP, and they kill Bless yet again.
And Someday has absolutely insane statistics now with all his kills and the 2 Infernal Drakes. Take a look at this. Chaos Storm dropped pretty early, and Someday has to be exhausted. Fly does end up taking Bless, just tracking him. He does a good job of preventing Hachani from stacking up any kind of concussive blows on anybody for more kills on the side of KT. Arrow very starved in this game, still not even having completed his Iceborne Gauntlet yet.
Although ESC are going to look for a pinch. They find Key, though, throughout the Winter's Bite. He takes a bunch of damage and has to go back off through the magical journey. Big burst coming out, though, from Loken, taking down 2 with the help of Tempt, and they find Someday and Hachani. KT overstaying in the bottom side, losing 3 members.
And that's what you have to be careful about. They didn't even have most of their abilities. The only ultimate global that they had that time was Bless on the Rec side, but he still managed to get in there. And there were 3 members. They got a little bit greedy. It was started this fight as a 3 versus 4, and it quickly became a 3 versus 5 as Bless zooms in. The help of the Rek'Sai, Fly and Score just not really there at the beginning to actually help out.
Yep. Meanwhile, back on live, you can see ESC trying to go in for a push on the tier 1 mid. Will get shoved off. This Tempt gets chunked out pretty low. But meanwhile, Loken and Key, not wasting any time, goes straight for this one in the bottom side. They're still not going to be able to stick around and take it.
No, they're not, so they can't actually get the gold, but they are slowly evening it up. Only about 1,500 now for KT with their advantage. However, ESC, they really have to get something going here. Whether it's picks when these TPs come back up, that's what they ideally be looking for. They finally scored their first kill onto Someday, and they're building towards the Lichbane on Temp, so maybe they can actually do something. But considering that KT has an advantage, they already have this incredibly powerful Fiora, and the Ezreal is only going to get stronger as he completes his items. It is looking grim for ESC unless they can totally outmaneuver the likes of KT with the Twisted Fate ult, the Rek'Sai ult, and their 2 teleports.
Well, so far, KT just need to tighten up on these moves that they've been making around the map, because they'll gain an advantage and then they'll take 2 steps back, giving up several kills and allowing ESC to inch their way in. Try to take this one. The double Infernal Drake, though, definitely the best thing that they have going for them at this point.
Yeah, absolutely, especially for this split push. I mean, what they need to do now is just ward up, play around Someday, who's super strong, make sure he has the necessary wards to play cautiously. Instead, they're going to tag the Baron here a couple of times. Arrow continuing to stack that Manamune, so as he passes by the backside of the Baron pit. But yes, they have Score and Someday just need to be a unit right now. Play together, allow Fly to use his wave clear to keep Twisted Fate under control. He was doing such a good job of that this game.
Yep. Tempt now going for that Lichbane. You can see he's got the Sheen and the Aether Wisp in the inventory. So going to be delayed heavily as he had to get the Abyssal Scepter first. Loken now working on Hurricane, still needs that.
Yeah, this build is really bad. This build is really bad for ESC's current situation. You need to keep, so here's what went wrong. He built the Infinity Edge first, but you have to ask, okay, what's the strategy that ESC ever is trying to do? Well, it's a 1-3-1 split push, which means you need the Ashe in the mid lane. To get the Ashe in the mid lane, you need the Runaan's Hurricane. But because he built the Infinity Edge first, he can't really wave clear in mid against the Victor.
Yeah.
But if he can't wave clear in mid against the Victor, he's vulnerable to his overextensions when Score comes, right? Uh-oh, Arrow not going to hit.
Yep, Fly just going to use that Ghost, jukes it out.
So, oh man.
Oh boy, okay, Someday going in for crazy. Needs one more hit, there it is. Nice riposte on the gold card. Still gets caught by the Bard ultimate, but can they catch him? He dashes away, looks like he might be safe. Might just go up into the face of Bless as he does have Score and Hachani backing him up. But no, he's just going to rotate straight back to the bottom side and continue working down that tier 2 tower.
As soon as, I love Someday's aggression. As soon as he sees those abilities thrown out, he immediately all-ins, knows that there's no danger to him, and can actually pick up a kill under that turret.
Yep.
Get some turret damage down too, Score zoning out. So as I was saying, Loken got himself into this situation where he needs Hurricane. He needed BF Sword Hurricane. But he built Infinity Edge, and then, in order not to get ganked by Score in the side lane, he had to build a QSS because he is very vulnerable to any kind of cocoon. So then that delayed his Hurricane, and then it even further delayed ESC Ever's ability to actually play the kind of League of Legends that they want to in this game, which is to use the Twisted Fate in the side lane alongside the Trundle in the opposite side lane, because the Ashe simply can't outwave clear the Victor without the Hurricane. So just a really poor progression. Yes, Loken has 100% kill contribution to this game. He's been doing work, but this is a really bad build for the team comp as a whole.
Yeah. We'll see how much longer it's going to be for him to finish out that Hurricane. You can see it's going to be an Ocean Drake, our third dragon to come up. So no triple Infernal. The hype is gone. Maybe one after this. If they kill in time, we'll find out. But Arrow, meanwhile, been doing a decent job keeping up as far as the CS goes. Only has 1 assist to his name, so not really getting involved in the 7 kills that have been there on the side of KT. It's all been Someday, for the most part. Participating in 6 out of 7. We'll go ahead and start this up, though.
I mean, nobody even has assists on his team because he's had several solo kills now.
That's very true.
He's just been styling on Crazy effectively.
Yeah. Making us a believer. Looks like that's going to be the Muramana completed stacking, though, for Arrow. Can start doing a good amount of damage in these trades. These team fights poking back and forth, and has the Bilge Water, so on his way to that Blade of the Ruined King, so he can just kite around Bless and Crazy. So this is looking pretty good for KT. A much better lead than they had in the first try.
Yeah, there's just no answer to Someday. That's the biggest factor. This particular game, now he has that Black Cleaver complete, so Crazy's abilities, or let's say attempts to build up armor and move into this Frozen Heart are going to be somewhat stymied thanks to all the armor shred should he get into some sort of extended engagement with this Fiora.
Oh, Arrow's gonna get thrown out.
Nice
repel dodge by
beautiful.
Sport. That was perfectly timed, but he comes down and still gets blown up. Kino, the one that comes away with a kill. Crazy and Bless both gonna get caught with the Bard ultimate. Not sure if that's quite where you wanted that one to go, and Crazy is gonna fall someday. Just starting to rip through, throws down the Grand Challenge onto the Bard. Look at that one, a double kill coming through. Looking for the triples, he jumps onto Loken. It's gonna be the death ray coming through, and it will confirm the triple kill someday. An absolute monster.
Holy
4 for 1.
cow! All right, well, finally, Achilleos, I may be seeing something that the Korean teams have been doing in scrims that makes them think that this Fiora is still very strong. Because this is the first game where we've actually seen a Fiora go
oh my God,
absolutely go off.
He's just going to dive onto Bless here in the middle of the base, taking a good amount of damage from that. Cannot finalize the kill, but my God, you can see just how much damage he's able to do by himself.
Wow, that was really impressive from Someday.
So the other teams just need to realize, like, okay, there's a difference between Fiora being really good and Someday being really good at Fiora.
Yeah, and that was a great dodge, and Bless and the rest of ESC get the knock up, the exhaust, everything.
They commit everything to score.
Not the best gravity field right there. It should have been placed a little bit further forward by Fly, but they still end up making it work. But Someday right here, I mean, the riposte, helping out get that kill, and then just the speed he has dashing forward to clean up this fight is absolutely ridiculous. Loken uses his QSS, doesn't matter, ends up falling anyway.
Wow. Beautifully played by Someday in that fight. 8-1-2 now on the Fiora. You can tell he just doesn't give a damn about farming at this point. He's had Crazy keeping up with him, but the kills are now his source of income.
Absolutely.
He has made the enemy champions his gold pinatas.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he's going for a Bloodthirster now, too. I was curious what he was going to do with that Giant's Belt. He had Giant's Belt Vamps after he decided, I'm just going to go pick up the Bloodthirster. I just need a little bit of extra HP just in case. It's my just cushion right there in case anything goes wrong. Bit surprised that you wouldn't buy a GA, but it's okay.
I mean, he's not even getting close to dying at this point.
Well, he is an 8-1-2 Fiora in this game.
Yes, you don't need the GA. No one can kill you.
Look, I'm just glad we finally get to see this. And of course, an 8-1-2 Fiora is going to take over the game. We knew that regardless of what we had seen in previous games. But what surprises me is that off of one gank, this Fiora was winning that Trundle matchup incredibly hard and had the solo kill all-in potential. So that's That's the information that I needed to understand why this pick was coming through.
All right, well,
but
Crazy.
nobody else has been able to do it, so.
Yep. Crazy's at like half HP. Meanwhile, up at the top side, Bar Ultimate used. Finding a couple members, and he is just getting junked down. Fly gonna chase forward. The Chaos Storm to finish him off. Something coming around the backside though gets locked up by the gold card. They don't have the damage to finalize it. Crazy is just gonna go down as Someday finishes him. And Arrow going really aggressive into the base with the Arcane Shift, able to finish off Bless. A 3 for 0, and that's gonna be Baron going over to KT Rolster. Plus, more than likely, this mid inhibitor.
Yeah, that aggressive play by Arrow there. He's been getting a little bit jealous, I think, of all the kills that Someday's gotten in this game. Arrow.
I can make plays too. Oh boy, for Johnny though. Taking a good amount of damage from Loki, and Arrow trying to trade this one back. A couple more.
Oh, he missed the Mystic shot!
Oh, he whiffs it. Still goes down to the Ignite from a Johnny. But that's going to be 2 less Baron buffs on the side of KT. So a slight reprieve for ESC. They hold on to that mid inhibitor for the time being, but KT more than likely going to be able to take that in the next couple minutes.
Well, it doesn't really matter if Arrow died right there because Someday and Fly are still alive, and that's what actually matters for pushing into this base right now. As I said, Arrow probably getting a little bit jealous. Arrow is actually, out of all the players in the league, #2 in overall kills right now, a bit surprisingly. So he's been
not in this game.
Definitely cleaning up a lot this season. Prey is #1 currently.
Well, Someday is trying to become a contender with his 9 that he's picked up for himself. I wonder how many. I wonder what the figure is now. I forget how many times Duke died yesterday.
Duke has 13 deaths this season.
Okay, so he more than doubled his deaths in one best of 3.
Yeah, it is. Also worth pointing out that none of the players except for Winged, in terms of deaths, Winged actually only has 11 deaths, surprisingly.
He's been playing really well.
Yeah, he has been. But none of the other players, besides Winged, that have fewer deaths than him have played all of the games, which is expected. So Duke and Winged are #1 and #2 in terms of players that have played every single game for their team.
Nice. Well, glad to see Winged showing up. I think he's been the star performer on the side of Gen Air.
I love watching his Thunderlord's Graves.
Oh, yeah.
That has been awesome to see.
That was just filthy. But, okay, that's going to be Mountain Drake. So, Infernal, Ocean, and Mountain were our 3 elements. Will be the last one before the Elder Drake spawns. All of them in the hands of KT Rolster.
All right, well.
It's going to be dirty. They're looking for... Well, there goes your Death Brush.
Yeah, nice little attempt right there. Trying to stall up the Fiora, but they don't have any turrets any longer in either the mid or the bottom lane. Fiora just trying to slowly make sure that they get all the objectives. Someday very rapidly destroying this top lane turret. And he got a QSS after his, so it's just it's a safety Giants belt. Makes him feel good, I guess.
Yeah. Well, no one can even go try to answer Someday. They're just going to try to 5v4 on the bot side, but even that's not going to work out. So Someday's just going to get 2 inhibitors for himself.
I wonder what he was going to do with his Giants belt. Maybe a Randuin's?
A Randuin's?
Yeah, it must be a Randuin's.
Let's pull out a Warmog. Screw it. Bard Ultimate not going to connect. Fly. Not going to get jumped on off the backside of that Ash arrow. And now here comes Someday down to the bottom side. Temp already pretty low. Draws a red card of all things. And the repose is there. And they are just getting swept through Loken, the only one that can make it back to the sanctity of the fountain. And the rest of the base is going to crumble around him as KT pushes in with the Baron-empowered minions. So 32 minutes on the clock. KT taking out game 1 over ESC Everett, who certainly struggled under the pressure of that Fiora from Someday.
Yeah, they're going to go on. They want Loken.
Can they get him? No!
Oh, they can't.
Oh,
man.
Scumbag Someday and Fly. Finish it off. And Arrow just going to further ruin his KDA, finishing up with a 3-4-5 instead of a 3-3-5.
That's right. He wasn't concerned about the KDA, Achilles. It's just the total kills that
know.
That's where you got it. That's
the bloodthirsty Ezreal.
That's the stat he wants this season, apparently. Well, that was a very different game than game #1, where we saw it very even at 35 minutes. This one ends in 32 minutes with an absolutely dominating performance by Someday on the Fiora, finally validating perhaps all the Fiora picks that we've seen here in Korea, because no one else has been able to make it shine quite like that.
Yeah, that was pretty disgusting to watch. When you can have a tank Trundle just get halved with his HP and a couple auto attacks. It's a pretty good performance there. So ESC going to have to reassess how they approach the draft coming in, because Fiora definitely going to have to be taken off of the table this time around.
Well, in the first draft, they banned the Trundle. In the
Yeah,
second one, they
they
decided
tried
to
it.
pick it, and KT, instead of going for the Aurelia, did what they normally do, which is last pick for Someday on red side. And man, what a difference that made, as Someday topped out the damage to champions chart in that game.
That he did by a significant margin. Fly hovering behind him. Really good performance on Victor as well. Most of the time, the gravity fields were well placed to zone out any further aggression from ESC and ensure some picks. But overall, KT looking insanely strong in that matchup, and ESC, that remake, looks like they messed with them a little bit, but we're going to come back for game 2 in just a couple minutes. See if KT can finish out with a 2-0.